Hello guys, and welcome to another video of the Sports PressHer. If you don't know, my name is Moriah and I am sitting down here with my fellow friend
Teirrah.
And we are just two girls who talk all things sports. Are you ready to get into the video?
Yes.
Alright, let's get going. Alright, so for this video, we just mainly have two topics we want to go over. We don't want it to be too long, too dragged out. Get to the point and let's get talking, get each other's opinions. So a topic that I had brought to you was something that has been happening ever since college sports has been going on, in my opinion, but in recent news has become an issue for college sports, and that is court storming. Under recent news, like I said, it has started to become an issue. I know everybody knows of that Tennessee-Alabama game where the fans had rushed down to the field and were not only celebrating, but decided to take the goalpost out of the ground and walk it out of the field and throw it into a nearby river. So that was one time that court storming had made it to the headlines. Another was recent with Iowa and Ohio State with Caitlin Clark. After that loss at Ohio State, she was trying to exit the court, and as she was running, she ran in and collided with a fan. And so in press conference, she was like, "Oh, this was scary. She could have seriously been injured." And so the court storming situation that happened last week was the Duke player Kyle Filipowski. I don't want to get his name wrong. And he was at an away game and their team lost against Wake Forest. They rushed down to the court and he was injured. I think it was like his leg or his knee or something. And so his own coaches and teammates had to form like a barricade around him in order to escort him as he was limping off the court. So, as I mentioned earlier, there have been a lot of recent court storming situations that have happened that have left athletes injured. And so now the question is like, should it be banned? And so that's what we're going to talk about. So, Teirrah, what do you think? Should court storming be banned?
Personally, I think it should be banned just as a concern for the players, because like when you think about it and when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, for the schools, the student athletes are the priority, and they can get seriously injured. Like Cal, he, as of right now, we're recording this video, he's kind of questionable. It's optimistic that he will play, but it's, it could have been worse for him.
It's hindering the rest of his season.
He said he's sore and not really feeling himself. So it's kind of like, well, what happens when a star player gets seriously injured?
Yeah, that's money lost right there.
Exactly. And like that's like a potential lawsuit waiting to happen in some sort. Like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like a party pooper either, because I know it's like a part of the college culture, the experience and everything. And
that was kind of my second question. I'm kind of pulling on a leg here, like kind of making it extreme with the what ifs. Are they possibly ruining that college fan experience of like the familiarity and like intimacy of that college fans get to have with athletes compared to like professional sports? We have that opportunity to go down, celebrate with them. Honestly, it's like we got the win as well, And so are they kind of ruining that college sport experience for fans?
I feel like if it is banned, it kind of would in a sense, but some schools, they don't do that, so I think it's just, like we don't do that. So it's kind of like, well, if it's banned, it won't really affect me. But for those who do it, they may feel like, oh, they don't want us to have any fun, or they don't want us to enjoy these games. And some people may feel like, oh, they don't really want us to be here or something like that just because of like they're banning it. But I don't know. I think it's not even just a player concern, but just a people concern in general. Like, I feel like everyone's safety is at risk with court storming. Like, not just saying the players can get injured, a coach could be injured, just a fan could be injured. Anybody can be injured because of the court storming. So I just feel like it's not that serious for people to be getting injured, because of it.
Yeah.
I think they need to have some type of regulations or something regarding it.
And it's crazy you say that, because as I was watching the Mississippi State-Kentucky game, like we had said, Mississippi State, that is prohibited. We are not allowed to rush onto the court and celebrate. But the announcers had the opportunity to talk with Kentucky's AD before the game, and he was just proposing this scenario where, like, if schools need to be punished, that if they allow their fans to rush onto the court, that they have the possibility of removing a home game away from their schedule the next season. And of course, they were going into detail about, of course, that's money lost for the university, less home games on your schedule, and also a loss for the fans, another game that you can't attend, tailgate, have that college sport experience. So I guess with Kentucky's AD, obviously he doesn't really have that type of pull to make decisions like that, but it just shows people in leadership positions the extremities of how far they're willing to go with banning court storming and the types of consequences that it can have for universities. So
yeah, I think that'll probably ultimately start deciding, like, oh, we're not going to, like, if they may not ban it, like, as a whole, but I think a lot of schools will start following suit and be like, oh, don't do it because we don't want to get fined.
Yeah, we don't want to get fined.
Right.
Yeah, because Tennessee, this was more of like vandalizing for Tennessee with them taking the goalpost out, but their university was fined $100,000. That's a lot of money. Yeah. So, like you said, maybe they won't actually completely ban it, but there'll be some consequences to make universities think otherwise.
Yeah, regardless of what happens, there needs to be some regulations, because like I said, you have people like Caleb, she wasn't injured, but Cal, he's dealing with kind of a knee injury, so it's like, okay, I don't want it to get to a point where someone is hurt even worse. Yeah. And I feel like, I hope it doesn't get to that point, but I feel like it may get to the point where, oh, someone is seriously injured, and then that's when they're going to take action when it's too late. But hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Yeah, they're talking about it now, which is a good sign. So they're not trying to let it get to that point. I guess with my opinion with it, I would agree with you. These players, especially with NIL involved with this, they are worth a lot of money. So obviously how much money you have attached to your name does not give you more value or less value to you as a person. That's what I believe. But in the business side of things, that is a loss of money when you have someone injured like Kyle, who wasn't even injured in the game. Right. This was something that happened after the game by a fan, completely unnecessary. So now that a lot of money is now attached to these college athletes, they're undergoing a whole bunch more precautions to make sure that they're not in any compromised situations like court storming. So I think there needs to be some type of regulation that needs to be followed in the NCAA to protect these athletes. Definitely. As of the day we are recording this, Mississippi State men's and women's teams, they're doing decent, I guess you could say. The men's just came off a tough loss to Kentucky. They're currently 19-9 and 7th in the SEC. But they have picked up some big wins this season against Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, and of course the rival Ole Miss. Women's, they just also came off a tough loss to Alabama, and they are unfortunately on a 4-game losing streak. But they're currently 20-9 and they're 6th in the SEC. They've also picked up some big wins against Ole Miss, Kentucky, Arkansas, and LSU. And that LSU one, that was a big one. And of course, last season, both teams were able to play some postseason basketball and play in the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, the men's lost in the first 4 rounds to Pitt, and the women's, they made it a little further, but they won 2 games, but lost to Notre Dame in the second round. So my question for you, what are your thoughts on their seasons, and do you think that both teams could make a deep run in the NCAA tournament?
Okay, so I'll start with the men. So with the men, I think they've done pretty good this season. Like you said, they've had some big wins: Tennessee, Ole Miss, Auburn, LSU. And so that shows me that they have those those capabilities to beat these ranked teams. Their quadrant 1 is their worst record, which is 3-6. So that shows that they're losing to good teams. So I guess my opinion for that would be, if they want to make it long and then March Madness, they got to do better playing well away. You know, they're doing pretty good at home. Of course, that Kentucky loss was kind of a mishap, you know, but that was a good game. So they do well at home. They got to do well off their court. So that's what I would say. For the women, you just never know. I mean, I'm at a good 50-50 with them in terms of how I see them playing postseason. They have a good record in terms of playing in their conference. They're 50-50. So they'll lose to, I think, was it Ole Miss? They lost one and won one. So you just, I don't know with them. So what do you think?
So to keep this short, basically everything you just said, I think if they want to make this run, both of them, it's just consistency and just keeping all the good things going. Because at this point, it's the end of the season, basically.
Yeah.
So I think the main things will just be keeping the good things going, but also just correcting everything that, I think the energy also, because I feel like they kind of feel defeated, like if they get down or they maybe get too cocky if they're up, and then they'll let the team come back against Kentucky. So it's kind of like just keep that energy,
I would say the small things, like these free throw shots that we're missing.
Yes,
we got to be more consistent on making our free throws. And also these unnecessary fouls. You got to be mindful of those fouls, because that's another point on the board for them. So those are small things that I feel like if they would just work on, would make a big difference in the turnout of the game.
And I think, both teams, they have outstanding players, difference makers for them on the team. So I just feel like it just has to get going at the right time. And now is the right time. So
I would say this season is, for both men and women, is a season that I've enjoyed watching. It's not like we were expecting losses. Okay, here comes Ole Miss, here comes LSU. It's like, okay, I've seen how they've been playing this whole season. I think they got a shot. The girls go and beat LSU at away.
No, we're at home.
Oh, no. Yeah. It was the boys who went
the boys went
to away. But the girls at home beating LSU and the boys away beating LSU, I'm like, we're a good team. You just got to stay consistent.
Exactly.
And so that is something that I would say about basketball.
So there has been talk of expanding the 68 team for NCAA tournament men's basketball to 80 teams. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we've already seen it happen with college football, so I mean, I don't think there's anything glaring that I'm just opposed to. Make it more competitive, obviously, is the reason for that. I mean, you just want to give the viewers something interesting to watch.
Right.
You don't want to keep saying seeing the same Final Four every time. You want to. We've obviously seen that these smaller schools have just as much talent as these bigger schools. So giving them an opportunity to come in and show their talent is another reason why they're expanding. So just like with football, I think it's a good thing, and I think it will make these tournaments more interesting to watch, in my opinion.
I agree. Like, I'm all for, giving it more competition. Like, we able to see more, teams that we normally wouldn't see. And just, any given day. Like, that's the thing with sports. Like, any given day, the worst team can come in and beat the best team. And so I just think that'll just make things more interesting, like you said, to watch and just possibly change the trajectory of everything we've seen before and just shake things up a little bit. So yeah. I like the idea of an expansion.
Same. Thank you guys for watching this video. It was a little short video, but I would say definitely some important topics to talk about that is going on in the sports world right now. So if you didn't know, now you do know. One thing is that we definitely want to hear from other people, what they have to say, their perspective, opinions. Let us know what you guys think about anything that we talked about in this video. So we will see you guys in another episode of the Sports PressHer.
Bye.